and you know what it is. You see the star right here. You see the star in the back. It's them Cowboys, man. Even though they lost, it's all good. It's all good. We're gonna be talking about that. It's only preseason. We lost 4 games of preseason. We was up 12-5, so we're not tripping off of that. But I told you we're doing the high school thing. We've been having a slew of great interviews, and I got another one, and Mr. Daniel Simon. It's going to be a great thing. He is hailed from the state of Wisconsin, which I'm excited because I haven't had a Wisconsin player, and I know they go hard in football. So without further ado, introduce yourself to the fans and the crowd, and then let's jump right into some questions we're going to have on this interview.
Hey everybody, I'm Daniel Simon, class of 2024, student athlete at Winneconne High School. Right now I'm focusing on my football season. We're in a third week, I believe, and just ready to get at it.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm really excited because number one, when I looked at your position, you already have the prototypical size. I mean, you're only going into your junior season, but you already have the prototypical size that, heck, even in the NFL, they look at that size already coming off the defensive end. So kind of tell me, has defensive end kind of always been your place, or defensive has always been your thing coming up? And I've seen you play defensive tackle well. Just kind of tell me how you kind of like that position, and has this been something that you've been doing kind of ever since you've been playing football?
So basically, like starting out, I guess I've heard other guys talk about it kind of. I actually
Mhm.
started out on the offensive side of things.
Okay.
Coming up in Pee Wee football, I was an O guard and then kind of an O tackle.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just last year, that's when I made my transition from tight end to defensive end.
Mhm.
So in the state of Wisconsin here, it sounds kind of funny, but I was actually the number one tight end in the state as a freshman. So
Wow.
it was kind of hard to make the decision like switching over to defense, but in
Mhm.
the end, it's obviously been worth it. I mean, balling out at defensive end and then just recently getting the shot at D tackle. So
Mhm. Now, first of all, that's amazing. Number one time. Now, before we go anywhere else, now I know we can jump into a lot of things, and I am, but since you said that, that sparked something in my brain. Now, since you were a tight end, and I've seen a lot of that transition, especially in the University of Wisconsin, how they transition from tight end to defensive tackle, JJ Watt, TJ Watt. There's been guys that have done it. Is that something that you would consider, like if you were going to like a Wisconsin, and would you look if they were like, we like you at defense, but you could be really nice at tight end? Would you consider something like that?
yes, sir, absolutely. I guess that's kind of why I'm a little bit jumpy with going to defensive tackle. I want to
Right.
stay, agile enough and stuff
Mhm.
because I mean, I was going to camps as freshman and sophomore at tight end. So this
Mhm.
year, first time going out at defensive end. But definitely, I mean, JJ Watt's kind of like my guy, so would be
I
pretty
feel
cool
you.
to do that.
I feel you, but yeah, I feel what you're saying. Like, this is your life and your career, but just in my opinion, you got those tight end size and traits, and you could be that guy too. So I would just say if you could still keep that kind of in your repertoire, like you said, play some defense in, but still throw that tight end in there, I think you could be that guy that could be that dual player that they could kind of mold into somebody once they go into college. So I just feel like you could just keep that in your repertoire because it seems like you're pretty nice. As I watched you on the tape, you got some good agility, and I like that. You know what I mean? Coming from that position. But let's talk about some of your own strengths playing the defensive end. What are kind of your own strengths right now? You said you played it, you like it. What are the things that you say that you really love about the defensive end? What do you say your strengths, or what do you feel like you want to add to your toolbox as well as you're coming into the position?
Well, I guess overall, it's really what I like about it and what I hold myself to is just being the smartest guy on the field. A lot of guys look at the linebacker as kind of the leader of the team, and when I thought about defensive end, I really just like to set the tone. You get
Mm-hmm.
that first big hit on the quarterback, and then whole game's over for the other team.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I like being smart about it. I like being fast, tough. I mean, tenacious is a word we use to describe our defense here at Winneconne, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I like about it. So
Okay. And what do you say were your strengths off coming off the edge?
I really got as far as moves. I mean, I know you saw that bull rush I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been putting on the weight for that, so I got a good bull rush. I got a good club and then a good swim move. So
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what already. If you're already telling me that you really pride yourself on intelligence, I can already see you continuing learning the finer parts of the game, especially the hand fighting. I know one of the players that's on the Dallas Cowboys, and even when you watch TJ Watt, I mean, one of the things he's really good at is the dipping, but not just that good hand placement, being able to do those rip swim moves when you're really can really offset that offensive lineman and have him off balance really the whole game. You can really master, really own the team. You can really destroy a team by yourself by doing that. So that's pretty awesome. So just something we're talking about that, and you're talking about the offensive line, and you played the offensive line. You said coming up. So you're playing defensive end now. What kind of things that you look on the offensive line when you're going against him to say, how can I kind of beat this guy? What kind of things do you kind of look at him to kind of set you off, maybe a run, pass, things of that nature? Kind of do you really to beat him?
I guess it all starts when we're like starting, with our film review. As soon as we
Mm-hmm.
get in that film room, I look at how big that guy's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I have him in height and weight, I know I can get a good reach on him,
Mm-hmm.
like hit him with certain moves and stuff. I guess as
Mm-hmm.
far as like footwork, obviously I know all the footwork they're going to be trying to put on me.
Right.
So they really give away keys. I mean, in high school, guys aren't that smart,
Right.
so like
See, keep going. Keep going.
yeah, I mean, I was just saying if like they're leaning so far to the right and it's like a guard or something, it's pretty obvious he's going to be pulling,
Mm-hmm.
coming off
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So yeah, it's just looking at that film and just really making sure that I got the overall advantage.
And that's good. And like you just said, it becomes so easy. People need to understand you can have all the ability on the field, but what you really get into the film study. I talked to a lot of athletes that say they really get into film study, and it really makes it easier when you get on the field because not only you'll probably see the tendencies yourself, but when that film room really shows it to you, you get on the field, can almost beat them at the play because you kind of know what they're already doing. It's a really great advantage. And that's why film study is huge. And that's why I always tell athletes, get in that film room, get in that film room, because that's what the coaches are going to love, and that's what's going to continue to make you a better player. Now, I looked on your profile, and it said you played multiple. You're a multiple sport athlete. Obviously, we talked about how you played the tight end position and the offensive and defensive side of the ball. But do you play any other sports besides football?
Yes, sir. I guess it's been kind of funny because I've been switching around. Obviously with my height 6'5", people always assume basketball, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess up until my freshman year, I was a basketball kid, but just recently made the decision to switch to wrestling, so that'll be my
Mm.
winter sport. And obviously here in Winneconne, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we got one of the best. I think we're Division II, I believe, and we're one of the best teams in the state. So
Mm-hmm.
been grinding pretty hard at that. And this year I'll be a heavyweight, so be going
Mm-hmm.
against some big old linemen again and show them what's up on the mat. So
Well, we already know from me just watching film with college athletes going into the NFL. We have a guy that's, well, I'm saying we, but the Dallas Cowboys, a team who I follow and do shows with. Uh, there's a player on their team, actually two players. Um, uh, oh my God, Ogadazua. He came out of UCLA, and then they just had a John Ridgeway. Both of them were wrestlers, and Osa Ogadazua was a state champion. I think John Ridgeway was a state runner-up, but Osa Ogadazua was a state champion. One of the things I love watching as wrestling guys who are wrestlers and they play football because to me it's just a huge advantage. When I watched him on the wrestling match and then I see them playing on the field and you're going against guys maybe are bigger than you, but you can really do those wrestling moves within the game of football and add it to you what you're doing in football. It's a huge advantage. That's why I feel like a lot of players have the advantage or better. When you see that wrestling background, you say, okay, I see why he's doing that against them all the time. You know what I mean? It starts to like click like, why they good with that hand fighting, they're good with wrestling, because people don't understand you're doing a lot of the
mhm,
grappling, you're doing a lot of the hand movements, you're doing things to get the advantage, and you're having to stay low. That's the biggest thing in my opinion, because especially if you're playing a defensive tackle position, low man always wins. If you're getting that good hand fighting and you're doing those wrestling moves, you're really having the advantage over those offensive linemen. Kind of tell me about that.
absolutely. I guess where you're going with that, with the low man wins, I guess I could go into my third sport of the year, track and field.
Nice.
I dabble a little bit in throwing. I mean, I did discus and stuff, and then obviously being a sprinter, you gotta generate the most force possible. And I guess that's something I've been working on is getting like more agile, as I said earlier, and I don't know, just being able to work on myself, with my coaches and stuff. They've been putting us through workouts where we're focusing on how can we make ourselves as small as possible in situations or as big as we need to be, and in order to generate the most force and like make cuts faster, I guess that's what we worked on last year with the track team and this spring with the football team. So
Well, I'm loving that. And you still got 2 more years, man. And you okay, dude? This kid does, this young man, he does football, he does track, and he does wrestling. Prime sports to be great. So keep on doing that, dog, because you about to be an animal out there. Now, I want to ask you something. I always ask all the young men before I get off of here. Obviously you're truly motivated. I'm gonna give a shout out. I know your parents are doing a huge job. I know they're doing a great job. So shout outs to them. But I always ask the young men, who else motivates you? You can definitely mention them, but who gets you up out of bed? When you're tired, when you maybe feel like you don't want to do this, maybe, who's maybe a mentor? You definitely mention your family, but just kind of some people, Matt, in your life that kind of get you when you feel like you don't want to do anymore, or is that extra motivation say, I'm not just doing this for myself, but I'm doing for these people as well.
well, first off, obviously my parents, being a blue collar family, we kind of had to fight for stuff,
Mm-hmm.
especially well, when we were young, we're moving around houses and stuff. So just being stable. I mean, my
Mm-hmm.
parents always pushed me every day.
Mm-hmm.
This past summer, I had a job where I got to wake up at 4:30, get out there
Nice.
and work. And yeah, I guess if we go second, it's our strength coach here. He's a really
Mm-hmm.
great guy, Coach Peterson. Shout out him, I mean, he's just been teaching us every day. You got to be in there, since he said it at our last meeting. He was like, it was what, 2 weeks after we lost our first round playoff game last year. We were all in the weight
Mm-hmm.
room again, getting back at
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, and then I don't know. I really like to consider myself that blue collar athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and just fighting for the people that didn't really get the opportunity to play football. I
Mm-hmm.
guess shout out to my guy Max Strand at Minnesota Duluth. I
Mm-hmm.
looked up to him as a freshman because when he was talking about like himself playing in the All-Star game, he's just saying, I go out there and do it for all the people that aren't able to,
Yeah.
physically or whatever else. So I
Yeah.
guess I go out there and I play with everything I got because you never know, might be your
I
last day, might be something like that. So
I love that attitude. That's why I'm gonna keep it real. These are the type a lot of the young athletes that have been on this show are more like the blue collar type. The ones that go hard, maybe a little slept on, but the ones that are going hard 24/7. And I mean, I like that. That's what I love, and that's one of the reasons why I love bringing you guys on here. Just seeing that and seeing the great things that you're about to do and you're continuing doing right now. It's just honestly a motivation for all of us adults out there. We see you young men out there doing the thing. This makes us proud. So continue to do your stuff, young man. And I know your parents are very proud of what you're doing. Before we kind of head off of here, let's talk about your academics. You said you have a 3.8, which is awesome. But, obviously, you probably can't play football your whole life, and there's got to be life outside football. So you also want to think about those things. So obviously, you do like school because you have the grades. So, what kind of maybe subjects do you like, or what would be a profession outside of football for Daniel Simon?
that's been the hard thing this past year. I mean, growing up, I always wanted to be an engineer, big smart
Nice.
kid, but
Mhm.
as I've gotten older, I kind of realized who's been impacting me the most in my life, and that's honestly been my coaches and my teachers.
Right.
So as I go into the future, I'm either gonna be looking in towards like business or special education because
Nice.
I don't know. I want to be able to get back into it, give back what I got it. So yeah.
That's an awesome thing because you know what, that's not a field that everybody will want to jump into. You know what I mean? That's something that you have to really have your heart in. My son was actually special needs. When and he has no problem. Me telling his story. Just a quick story. He was special needs growing up, wasn't able to talk, and we had to go through a lot of speech therapy for a long time. But to see how we stayed with it. We put a plan in, and I had great people that were his speech therapists that were giving him great, therapy as well. And he eventually got out. If you met him, you would never know, in my opinion, that he even had it. So, so people like that in that field, I definitely want it because it's not something easy for a lot of people to deal with. So kudos to you and shout outs to you. Want to eventually look into that field. And you being able to play sports is even a bigger impact because, as I said, those kids really look up to you. And so when you're ever when they see you doing that, and then they see that you're still making them a part of it, it makes it special. So once again, shout outs to what you're doing, young man. I'm salutes to you, and I can't wait to see what you're going to continue to do these next few years. Now, camps. I want to end this on the camps. I seen you. I think you went to an Iowa camp. I went to a few camps. Just tell me about your camps and how you felt you did at the camps, and what impression did you want to leave on the coaches?
So starting out this year, we did. My dad, he was nice enough. I mean, I'm blessed for having him. He said we can go to 3 big camps. I get to pick any 3 schools, and that was first University of Michigan, then it was University of Iowa, and then Wisconsin. So I mean, I really just when I went out to Michigan first, I was like, they just had Aiden Hutchinson, so
I know you
I
was
better be ready.
geeked. I know you was geeked up going to them camps, weren't you?
Yeah, I was ready. I was like, I got to go out there, be a dog. And I guess the impression I was looking to leave on these coaches, especially at my last camp at Northern Iowa, is just how much of a worker I am. I'm honestly probably not going to be very looked at, going into my senior year. So I just want them to know that if I have to take on a walk on, I will. And I'll be the hardest worker on that team. So that's all I was trying to show at these camps. I mean, something they used to describe me my freshman year was just raw talent, a lot of promising, capability that if I just work on a little bit more, so yeah.
Nice. And that was probably your motivation. I like how you're using that motivation to get better every day. So we're going to just continue to see great things for you. So I'm excited what you're going to do. I'm excited. Thank you for your time to be able to have an interview with me. I know you're busy and doing a lot of things. So I appreciate you setting out your time for myself. Also, what I want to tell you, like I tell all the young athletes, we do more than one interview. We do a mid-season interview, and we also do a end-the-season interview. Things that you kind of talked about. Obviously, you have goals for your team, win a state championship, things of that nature. But maybe some personal goals. We start to talk about those, and then we see how you're doing in your season. Kind of keep check. Everybody that I've interviewed, we're going to do a weekly thing where it's kind of player of the week, player of the game. So as many stats that you can get me game by game, film tape, things of that nature. Please do that, because that's what I show on my page to let everybody know, so everybody continue to see your style and your stats and your film. So people continue to know who you are, and maybe I know people out there in the streets. Hopefully we can continue to get you a nice offer. You look great in that Wisconsin uniform. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So, we could look back at this interview about 3 years later and look at you at Wisconsin turning up, going crazy over there. We was talking about that, remember? You know what I'm saying? So, shout outs to you, Daniel Simon. Thank you for your time. Do you have any last words before we get off of here?
I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, well, I definitely appreciate you. Like I said, appreciate you taking out your time. You have a wonderful night. We're going to talk a little bit off the air right quick. But as I said, thank you for Big Game James, Mr. Daniel Simons, Generation Next, the up and comers. You about to see this man soon. We'll talk to you. We out. Peace.